What's going on, fragrance family? It's your man Gator, better known as the novice nose out here in these fragrance streets. And I was sitting here doing some editing and everything, and I thought about it just out of the blue randomly, that I have yet to review the particular fragrance that I'm actually talking to you about today. As many wears as I've gotten in on it, I have for some reason not done a review on it. And it's interesting because the fragrance that it was inspired by was like my signature fragrance, man, when I first got into the fragrance game a while back. So you know, I don't know, I don't know if it slipped my mind or it just became a natural fit for me that I didn't think that, you know, oh, I needed to do a review on it. It didn't even appear to me as something new because I was so familiar with the DNA. Now, the fragrance in question, the inspired by fragrance in question, is this one. This is Joe Milano's Game of Spades Wild Card. You know I gotta love the black and gold color scheme, man. As a member of the Who Dat Nation, card carrying, you know, that's something that's just near and dear to my heart, man. The fragrance itself is near and dear to my heart because of the fact that I am such a huge fan of the fragrance that's inspired by. It's inspired by Bond No. 9's Lafayette Street. This used to be my signature fragrance when I could call myself having a signature fragrance back in the day, man. Beautiful fragrance, nice, fresh, uplifting, man. It was one of those fragrances that a lot of people like to dress up, but I used to wear that thing all day, every day, man, when I would go out. So, or any type of occasion, I could say, when I had the chance. I saw that Joe Milano had made a version of Lafayette Street, and I knew I had to get my nose on it just because of the simple fact that Joe Milano has been doing an amazing job as far as their inspirations. Win is one that's another one that I got that I have not done a review on. That's over there. I made a big deal out of Game of Spades Full House just because I love that imagination DNA, and it is by far the best imagination inspired fragrance that's out there right now. So I wanted to picked it up about a month or so, maybe 2 months or so ago, and I got good wears in on this particular fragrance, wore it out. I slipped into this with like a glove, and like I said, it just slipped my mind as far as the review goes. So I don't have to go into the box too much, but of course, just to put it back in, you see how it sits in the box, of course. Now, this was a little different than a lot of the other Game of Spades boxes because it has kind of this fuzzy type of feel to the box instead of that hard wood type of box that the other ones have, or the feeling on the box. This is the bottle, of course. Standard fare for Joe Milano here with the wild card, and then, of course, the spade on the top. So let me get into the fragrance a little bit. Of course, like I said, this is an inspiration of Bond No. 9's Lafayette Street. Now, there is a difference in the notes, and it does reflect in the way that this dries down, but the differences between the two fragrances are minimal. Let's see. So the Joe Milano, actually, let me go into the Lafayette Street notes first. So the Lafayette Street has the top notes of bergamot, flowers, and coriander. Middle notes are apple, ambroxan, and vanilla. And then the base notes are tonka bean, ambergris, woodsy notes. Okay, so it is a beautiful fragrance. I love that fragrance, man. And then on Wild Card, the fragrance notes are a little interesting on Wild Card. So top notes come across as bitter almond and saffron. Middle notes are the heart notes, I should say, are Egyptian jasmine and cedar. And then the base notes are ambergris, woody notes, and musk. So there's a couple of fragrance notes that they have in common, but they seem to deviate a good bit as far as like the way that the fragrance notes are presenting here. However, when you spray the two side by side, it's really tough. Unless you know the DNA of that original OG, it's really tough to distinguish between the two. I happen to know the DNA of the original. So there are some paramount, I mean, there are some, I wouldn't even say paramount differences. There are some, you know, substantial differences in the way that these two, you know, fragrances present themselves. The OG Lafayette Street is a little bit more potent at the get-go of it. It's a sweeter fragrance as it gets into the dry down and the mid, and I think it's because the apple is definitely in that particular fragrance. The vanilla is definitely in that particular fragrance, and they do show up in the dry down of that fragrance. Now the Lafayette, the Wild Card, it doesn't have those notes in the note breakdown, and in all honesty, those notes don't really show up in the way that this, you know, when you actually spray this fragrance. Oh, by the way, let me do this here. Let me before I tear up something here, let me go with the little spray here. Atomizer on the Joe Milano Game of Spades, always a winner, always a winner. So okay, so as I said, I fit into this fragrance like a glove because it hits the core feeling, the core scent profile to a T. It starts out with this beautiful freshness that you're getting from. Now it doesn't mention the sage and everything, but it says it's got the it's got in this one bitter almond in here and a saffron. I can kind of see that. Like if I was to sit back and, you know, certain fragrances, certain fragrance notes can actually mimic other fragrance notes when they're blended in a certain way, and I think that's what's happening with this one. That the way that it's blended kind of mimics the way that the OG Lafayette Street presents itself. So this does come off a little bit softer. Wild Card comes off a little bit softer than the OG does in the initial spray. Now as it goes into the dry down a little bit, the OG will start presenting a little bit of an apple note. You get a little bit of the sweetness from the vanilla and the apple blend in there, and it kind of adds to the freshness and gives this really kind of sweet but fresh type of vibe. I mean, it feels super fresh and clean when you've got it. This is super fresh and clean as well, but it doesn't give you that little subtle sweetness that you get from the apple and the vanilla, which the blend of those in Lafayette Street is amazing. In here, it doesn't have that apple blend. Now there is some sweetness that kind of creeps in. It doesn't mention vanilla in the note breakdown in here, but I think that there is some sort of, whether it be like a benzoin or something like that, that they're adding to this that does give a little bit of a vanilla type of vibe. Now in the mids, the heart of this particular fragrance, into that 1 hour to 2 hour dry down, you start getting more of those florals, and they come across as not uber like a flowery floral. They just come across as kind of like a lush, thickening type of vibe. It almost gives it like a creaminess in a way. Now that's executed in here, and I used to think that it was the vanilla that added that to the OG, but I think it's actually some of the florals as well that kind of give that creaminess to it. This one has that. It has that creaminess in the dry down that goes right into the woodsiness. It's almost like a sandalwood without the texture, if I was to describe it in such a way. Now I know that this one actually has cedar in it, so that's, I guess, what would be the representation of the woodiness in this particular vibe. Both of them have what they call woody notes. I guarantee you that there's some sort of creamy type of wood, whether it be sandalwood or palo santo or something like that, that's in the in that categorization of woodsy notes that add to the thickening, creamy type of feel of the fragrance. So you've got the creaminess, you've got the freshness, you've got a little bit of the sweetness here, not as much of the sweetness as you have in the OG, but you've got a little bit of that sweetness here. It kind of gives a unique wearing experience. It doesn't really smell like a whole lot of things that are out there on the, that you smell or you encounter every day. So as far as performance goes and getting in, talking about projection, this one actually got me about a good 4 or 5 hours at least at about an arm's length. So I mean, you're looking at something that's going to perform very well, very close to what the OG is as far as projection goes. The sillage and the air, it gives that same vibe. It is amazing. I do miss that slight apple in the sillage when I walk by people. I can feel it dancing in the background when I walk by people. This doesn't have that apple. However, it does have an intoxicating sillage. It's super fresh, super creamy. It is definitely something that people comment on. I had people actually walk up to me and tell me how good I smelled when I would walk by them. It definitely has a bit of a compliment factor to it, almost as much as the OG I used to have when I was out in these streets, man. Did have somebody say that it is one of those, I want to get close to you type of scents. It's super versatile. It's one of those fragrances that you can wear in the fall. You could wear in the summer, and you could wear it in the spring. I was actually wearing it in the summer, and it was fresh, super fresh. In the fall, this is going to be another crisp wind type of fragrance. This is going to be one that when it gets to the wind and people get downwind of it, people are going to, their noses are going to perk up and they're going to be looking for who smells so good. Overall, man, I love the wearing experience. I think that compliment factor is there. The price point is definitely fair. I think you can get it around 70 to 80 right now, which is still, a fifth of what you're going to pay for the actual OG fragrance. And it is very close to that OG fragrance. When you get into like that 3 to 4 hour mark, once the apple is kind of dissipated a little bit, you could put them nose to nose, hand to hand, nose to nose, and it's going to be very hard to tell the difference between the two. This one performs just as good as the OG. I'm telling you, I had a ball wearing this particular fragrance, and I look forward to wearing it over the next couple of months here as we're getting into the fall, transitioning it into the winter, man. That's all I got. Have you had a chance to put your nose on this? Let me know in the comments, man. And as always, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, share this video with somebody you know that loves fragrances, guys. Until next time, man, I'm super impressed with this house. Joe Milano may be my house of the year as far as clones go. They are inspired by, they're doing the Lord's work right now. So I gotta give a hand out to them. Peace out, guys. Have a good one. Like it.